Hi, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Meg, and we're Hesteyri horses.
So we've just written a little blog for Horse Mart about what you should have in your first aid kit. And so today we thought, just for a bit of fun, we'd show you what's in ours.
Okay, so to start with, vet wrap. It's an essential, so it's always good to have loads of that.
That's sunscreen.
Lice repellent. So this is just a vinegar one, but it's clearly labelled, which is important for all of your first aid stuff. Everything should be labelled.
We've got various soft bandages. There will probably be more of these as well. So soft bandages are really useful for loads of things. Your vet wrap you use with something underneath it. So these could be used underneath it. Other wounds higher up the horse, very useful.
Then we have cotton wool, so this can go under vet wrap as well, but it's also amazing for washing down stuff with Hibby scrub. So sometimes we have like a box a bit like this with Hibby scrub and water, and it just keeps it really easy, and then we can just soak that and they're all ready. They're basically like wipes, so they're completely ready for us to go.
Hibby scrub is like one of the most useful things to wash with. So wounds always wash with Hibby scrub because it's like a very, very mild soap. So it's completely non-allergenic, it's antibacterial, I believe. So this is aloe vera jelly. We use this for like nearly all small minor wounds. The vet spray we would use generally for like if a wound needs flushing out, because when you're washing it out sometimes it's nicer to have like a spray so that it actually flushes all the dirt out.
This is super. It's a cold bandage, so it's very clever. It's got menthol oils and stuff like that, so it cools, and you can get top-ups of the liquid to soak your bandage in.
So obviously cooling is really good for bringing swelling down.
Going on there's cooling for bringing swelling down, we also have ice packs. So these are amazing because they're long. So we've previously used these for a tendon injury, and you can kind of put them on the whole leg and then wrap it in bandage so that it's keeping the leg nice and cool. More jelly, which is, amazing.
So we've then got various, these are gauzes actually, so they can be used instead of or as well as cotton wool. The good thing about gauze is that it's much less likely to for little fragments to break off and get into the wound. So if you're really worried that it's quite a deep wound or something like that, these are really useful.
And then scissors are vital. You need them for all sorts. So it's always useful to have a set in your box or 3.
So these ones are still wrapped. So that means that if there was a wound and we needed to cut stuff around the wound or something, those would be ideal. We also have unwrapped ones, so more everyday ones.
So hoof poultice, it's animal insects. These are amazing. They're hoof shaped, so easy, and we generally will just dunk these in hot water with a bit of salt or a bit of Hibby scrub, and then we will bandage over them. They're so easy to use.
And these are nappies, which are used for the same purpose. Maybe not quite as easy to use, but still pretty easy because you can put the entire thing over the foot and then wrap it.
And very cheap. Lots of syringes. So some of these have saline in them, so they're really good for washing stuff out. So saline is salt water. They're so easy to use because all we have to do is unscrew the cap and then the water comes out quite quickly, so it's really useful.
We also have some of these tubes which are just saline solution, but obviously not in a syringe.
So these are like packs of gloves, and
There's quite a few of them.
This is a sheet, so you can put all of your stuff that you need to poultice a hoof on this sheet, and it keeps it nice and clean, which is obviously really difficult with horses because everything gets a bit dirty, and that's not ideal for when you want to keep everything clean. More scissors.
This is basically a massive roll of just dressing, so you can use it to dress anything basically. And it's got a gauze layer on the outside so that it won't stick to the wound. Gloves, dressing,
Ice pack.
cotton wool, flamazine, bandage, kinesiology tape, so it can be used for strapping muscles, preferably only by a professional.
We have this because it's really useful to hold dressings on. So if we have a dressing in a a difficult place, like they need one on their back, then it can stick on the outside, and that it's much stickier than, you know, anything else you can use, and you can't really get a line of vet wrap all the way around the horse's body. So that's perfect. Fix Vapor Rub. So this is amazing stuff. Most people have used it themselves. I use it a lot. I'm asthmatic. It just helps your breathing. But with a lot of horses who shake their heads or they suffer from pollen, it's really good to just put it around the nostrils, just like nice and low down, so it's not too strong. But it catches a bit of pollen, but it also helps the breathing. And obviously, if you've got any horses who are having coughs or anything, then you can use it just how you would use it with people. So you put it in hot water, and you can put a tea towel over a horse's head, and it works really well.
Tubular bandage is obviously ideal for leg. Literally, it goes on like a sock, so it will hold dressings on a lot more effectively.
Then we have two different types of arnica. So this is arnica gel, so you can apply this, you know, on certain bits, so sore bits, so not broken skin or anything like that, but, you know, bruises and stuff on the outside. This is roll on, so this has also got tea tree in it, so it can be good for bruising, but it's also good to keep the flies away. So this can go around the outside of a cut where they would have bruising, but that it's also a little bit open, so they need to keep the flies away.
I've finally found it, the propolis cream that I was talking about earlier. We use the jelly and the propolis cream a lot. They're probably our go-to for wound care. This is much better for if you've got something you don't want anything to get stuck to, so particularly in the summer when it's really flyy, because that's a cream and the jelly is sticky.
And then we have this, which is Vetericin, and it's really light, so it kind of applies just like water, and you can put it anywhere that, you know, it doesn't do any damage. This is perfectly safe and it's brilliant. This is iodine, but it's a very, very small amount. We do have a big tub, but we've had to keep it separate because if the lid comes off, it stains everything yellow, which it has done before. Or it's a spray bottle, so yeah. But yeah, iodine's really useful for everything. It's kind of one of those medical things that's just like, oh yeah, stick some iodine on it. It's anti-bac, it's great. So it's really useful.
So that concludes our first aid kit, although we probably have a lot of first aid equipment in other places in the yard, but it's always best to keep as much of it together as possible, because in an emergency you do not want to be scrabbling around looking for something. So the other stuff that we probably have are more just everyday things.
The other thing to remember about first aid box is to keep it in a nice waterproof box, so it's nice and safe from the elements, it's safe from mold, it's safe from rats. You don't want anything else getting in there, because all of that could be transferred into a wound, which you don't want.
And try to just go through it every now and then and chuck out things that are out of date. I know it's a bit sad, but it's the best way, because anything that's meant to be antibacterial that is out of date probably isn't as sterile as it should be.
It won't do the job.
So yeah, if you've got any animal insects, etc. hanging around that's way out of date, you can use it a little bit out of date, but just be careful because it might not do the same job as it should.
So this has been really fun for us, and we hope you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to see any of the other work we've done for HorseMart, just check out our profile on HorseMart.